Ukraine says it carried out an attack on the bridge linking Russia and the Crimean Peninsula. According to Ukraine's security service, underwater explosives were used to damage the bridge following an operation lasting several months. Tuesday's attack was the third time Ukraine had targeted this structure, which was built by Russia after it annexed the Crimean Peninsula in 2014. CBS News senior national security correspondent Charlie Daggett joins us now. And Charlie, good to see you. What do we know about the extent of the damage to this bridge? It seemed to be a very crucial lifeline.
Yeah, Nancy, it was enough to close the bridge down twice today, although it has been reopened, as we understand it. Once again, another surprise attack by Ukraine's security services, the SBU, following the weekend's audacious attacks on Russian airfields that struck a significant number of Russian strategic bombers. They say they used more than 1,000 kilograms of explosives, which severely damaged the underwater pillars, those sort of struts that support the bridge. As you said, the head of the SBU, the intelligence services, said this is the third time that's happened. You may remember that massive truck bomb that did serious damage to the bridge. I think it was in 2022. And once again, hitting the struts of the bridge. And Ukraine keeps saying this is a legitimate military target because it's a critical supply line for Russian troops and equipment. But it's also a deeply symbolic strike because Putin built this bridge to connect Crimea to the Russian mainland after annexing the Crimean Peninsula to Russia. So this is a symbolic strike as well as a strategic strike.
Well, given how significant it is, was the Trump administration notified about this attack?
No, the Trump administration was not notified and not notified of the previous attacks on the air bases.
What does that tell you?
Well, we already knew that, and I'll tell you what it tells us. When that unfolded over the weekend, I contacted my sources here at the Pentagon. They informed me that they weren't given the heads up about that, either before the operation or as it was carried out. And what it tells me is it really shouldn't be a surprise because I've interviewed the head of the SBU, the intelligence services in Ukraine, in the past, even about the initial Russian invasion itself. And he said they would never share intelligence of that nature with American intelligence agencies. And it's worth pointing out here because they've just got great operational security. The sources here say the Ukrainians may have exaggerated the success of the attacks on the air bases, saying it destroyed like 40 aircraft. Sources here say it's probably closer to half that, but either way, damaged or badly destroyed or badly damaged, this is a significant loss. And it's also worth pointing out, this isn't just the use of the technology that the Ukrainians are sort of world beaters at in using drone technology, but the subterfuge and the intelligence of the Ukraine's intelligence services really doing it under the noses of Russia's security services. And again, that was 18 months in the making, and the attack on the bridge was months in the making, too.
Yeah, you make such good points there, Charlie. And I also want to ask you about the potential peace deal. Russia and Ukraine have been working toward this for some time now. So what is the status of those talks?
Well, you know, considering the slugfest, the brawl that both sides are currently engaged in, I don't think anybody was expecting a breakthrough in Istanbul. The Russians have escalated their attacks on civilian targets. President Zelensky said they're hitting infrastructure and civilian targets in the east. And of course, Ukraine launching those unprecedented attacks thousands of miles from the front lines. The Russians now are actually demanding more territory than ever since before 2014. They're also saying that Ukraine must reduce its army and promise not to join any military alliance, let alone NATO, which are clear deal breakers. And the Russians know this. There is some progress to report in terms of prisoner exchange and repatriating fallen Russian soldiers. But really, any hope of a substantial step forward in the peace process are really dim at the moment.
And Charlie, before we let you go, some news from here in the States. The Navy now considering renaming multiple ships who were named after prominent Americans. What have you learned about those plans?
Yeah, so this is a story, Nancy, that we've been covering all day and chasing all day. So CBS News has obtained U.S. Navy documents used to brief the Secretary of the Navy and his Chief of Staff that outline timelines for renaming the USNS Harvey Milk, and that the name change could be announced to coincide with Pride Month this month. So it's an oil supply ship. It's a support ship, so not a battleship, but named after the gay rights advocate and Navy veteran who was assassinated in 1978. In addition, documents obtained by CBS show other vessels for renaming under a recommended list, and they include other prominent leaders, including Thurgood Marshall, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and Harriet Tubman.
Charlie D'Agata, thank you very much.
Thank you.